Chapter 11, The Son of Anarchy. I worried that my 2 months in the murder unit had stalled the Vagos investigation, but my performance in jail actually enhanced my reputation with the club. And at least, so far, Bernard hadn't leaked my identity to the gang. Vinny, the former vice president, disgusted by Psycho's renouncement of his own gang, defected from Victorville and formed his own chapter called the High Desert. He recruited some of Psycho's minions. As a result, Psycho needed new blood, new loyal leaders. Me, I saw opportunity, a way to access the internal workings of the club and prove it operated as a criminal enterprise. But Psycho didn't like me much, not after I had emasculated him in the murder unit. I needed another conduit, someone Psycho respected, someone Psycho liked and who liked me, Lizard. The gangster lived in his memories. He wove dark, intricate webs few could unravel. Most in the club barely remembered Lizard's accomplishments. Whether he had any or members simply believed he had once been powerful hardly mattered. Members respected him. I used that. If Lizard liked me, others might like me too. My bond with him developed slowly, born out of practicality and mutual interest in motorcycles. His wiry frame held him together like rebar. He needed help with repairs. I needed an insider. He preferred to work naked. I pretended his choices were normal, and for several weeks, we had superficial conversations about mechanical parts and drugs. I fake laughed at his jokes, presented myself as amiable, flexible, and a kindred sociopath. As long as we discussed his favorite subject, Lizard, he liked me. Then one afternoon, Psycho held church in Lizard's garage. Spoon and Wrench, both truck drivers, missed the meeting. Chains and Powder attended. Psycho looked particularly agitated. He paced between motorcycles like a small general, acutely aware that he had lost most of his soldiers. Rain lingered in the air. Psycho skimmed a finger across the dusty motorcycle seat. His eyes, gold flecks in the dim light, glinted triumphantly as he announced his plan. No one wears a high desert rocker without my permission. He ordered us to seize any violator's colors. Vinny, of course, promptly changed his chapter's name to Death Valley. As loyal subjects, we supported Psycho's great strategy to regain his leadership. We flattered him, said he was clever, powerful, blah blah blah. Rain fell, at first a drizzle, then large drops strained the concrete. Lizard stared at the water. He slowly undressed and stood in the shower. No one protested. No one said anything at all. The meeting continued without interruption. Fucking Rust. Psycho slid onto a motorcycle seat. He ranted about his pending assault charges, blamed Rust for starting the whole debacle. I should kill him right now. He paused for emphasis, then shrugged. I'm already going away for 10 years. Why not make it 20? Why not? He watched me carefully, as if I had just spoken the words aloud. Nerves skidded across his face. Lizard nodded, clicked his teeth, rested his chin on his cane. But revenge against Rust would have to wait. Psycho had more pressing news. Members of the Mexican Mafia had contacted him as a professional courtesy to let him know that they planned to kill a Vago associate suspected of snitching on Laeme. The gang didn't want innocents to get caught in the crossfire. The rat lives in this area, Psycho disclosed. My heart pounded. Bernard flashed in my mind's eye. Powder suddenly puffed to life. Do they know who it is? His words floated over us like vapor. As vice president, he should have elevated as president, supplied his voice, dictated his decisions, but Powder was a title only. My lawyer knows. He said it was one of the dudes whose charges got dismissed. We'll find out when he testifies. Psycho also had information from a law enforcement source that the Vagos had been infiltrated by an informant in the high desert. He had a source on the inside, an old lady, who advised him that the DA's office planned to refile the murder charges against Twist. Your charges were dismissed. Psycho looked directly at me, his tone sharp. They dropped charges against the 3 of us, I reminded. The other 2 were Walter and Joe, hang-arounds. I half expected him to order me to strip, members fixed with icy stares, and I felt raw and exposed, like meat hanging from a butcher's hook. But Psycho couldn't risk more defectors. As captain of a mutinous crew, Psycho needed me. He dropped the challenge. His gaze traveled to Chains, the chapter's secretary treasurer. The biker resembled a rock star, long hair, goatee, well chiseled. "You're a fucking mess," Psycho scolded him. Thanks to his bookkeeping efforts, the club bled money. Bills went unpaid. Some members still owed chapter fees. Fiscal irresponsibility invited the scrutiny of the National Secretary Treasurer. "I need a volunteer," Psycho announced. "Someone who has actual accounting skills." "I'm studying to be a paralegal. I perpetuated my lie." Psycho chuckled. "Yeah, sure," he said. "Maybe you could help Chains." "Technically, I wasn't qualified. The rules required membership in the club for at least 1 year." "Fuck the rules," Lizard slurred. He moved out of the rain, pounded his cane on the floor, his boxers drenched. He still commanded an audience. Psycho bristled at the outburst but considered Lizard's deviation. He was desperate. He studied me warily, then smirked. "Just don't go writing a book about us, like fucking Billy Queen." I smothered a smile. Chains' face muscles relaxed. He stood quietly next to me as Psycho briefed me on my new secretary-treasurer position. I was to attend all church meetings, take notes, handle the club's money issues, record dues, and, when the chapter acquired property, like guns or drugs, dispose of the evidence after first notifying the ATF. The meeting notes had to be coded, Psycho advised, as to not to reveal the actual attendees. Financial records had to be doctored to make it difficult for law enforcement. The Vagos books provided proof that the club operated as a criminal enterprise. Each member paid club dues, belonged to a chapter, implemented a rank and file structure, president, vice president, secretary treasurer, sergeant at arms. I reported to Tata, the international secretary treasurer of the Vagos. Though predominantly a southwestern gang, the Vagos had chapters in Mexico, Canada, Nicaragua, and the Philippines. Most of the Vagos' funds derived from illegitimate sources: guns, trafficking, weapons, extortion, though some came from bona fide businesses, tattoo shops, strip clubs, runs, and the club's legal defense fund. Vagos chapters attended the monthly secretaries meetings held at Bobby Baja's in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Over salsa and tacos, Tata warned us about the Solos Angels. The newly formed chapter had been greenlit. Lights dimmed in the restaurant. I stopped taking notes. My recorder vibrated in my wallet. Tata dipped his taco in a blob of salsa and ordered everyone to purchase throwaway cell phones. The man was watching the Vagos closely. "We have to be careful," he said. "If any sergeant at arms caught any member moving dope, he had permission to run them down to the ground." Tata warned us about getting too drunk in bars. Alcohol was contributing to too many assaults. We needed to watch our step. The Vagos nodded, absorbing Tata's cautions. Each chapter should keep a tool chest, weapons, so they have them when they need them, and get rid of old ladies who are becoming pains. No liabilities, no witnesses. He needed clean chapters. He ranted about the Patriot Act and reminded members that biker gangs were not excluded. Police could enter anyone's residence without a search warrant and plant what they wanted to plant, as well as tap phone lines. "We should wear recorders," one member shouted. "The police do." "That could pose problems for some brothers," Tata warned. He paused, swished his food around in his plate, and reconsidered. "Anyone who wants to wear one must report it to National." While I absorbed my new position as Secretary Treasurer under Psycho, I continued to work his rival chapter, Death Valley. I started by negotiating the purchase of an ounce of marijuana from a thick-necked member named Elmo. Wind bit into my face. The dark street glittered with broken glass. Elmo's house dead-ended like a drain. He quickly ushered me inside, and my eyes adjusted to harsh white glare. I squinted, blocked the light with my hand. A couch, 2 end tables, and patches of shaved mauve carpet looked like the debris left all over from storm damage. Elmo motioned toward the worn leather couch where we sat. My recorder pinched the inside of my thigh. Elmo's face flushed as he overstuffed a joint and offered me the first hit. He tested me, unwilling to initiate a drug deal unless he knew I was a stoner. But as an informant, I didn't have to pretend. I pinched the joint between my fingers and, without hesitation, inhaled deeply. The drug slammed into my lungs and left me instantly lightheaded. I couldn't stand, couldn't form words. Elmo chuckled and balanced the joint between his lips. "That's good shit, isn't it?" Good shit, I coughed, hoping my head would feel less like a balloon soon. Elmo blew smoke circles in my face. Check this out. Yesterday, I shot at someone. It took a few minutes for his confession to process. Elmo's voice, low and cold, replayed the scene. Some dude had beaten up his old lady in a bar, gave her a black shiner, but the assault was no ordinary brawl. Elmo's old lady happened to be the international vice president's daughter. He ordered Elmo to exact revenge, to take care of business. What happened? I managed, hoping my recorder picked up his hushed tones. Elmo stared at me, and his eyes had a glassy sheen. Calmly, he explained how he had enlisted the help of a hang-around, and together they had cruised in on this ominous black Lexus through different neighborhoods until he spotted the attacker's car and opened fire. Bullets ripped through the victim's rear tires, but unfortunately, no one was killed. Elmo shrugged, offered me another hit, and said, "Hey, at least no one saw me." Thanks to my recorded conversation with him, Elmo was eventually charged with assault with a deadly weapon and sentenced to 4 years in prison for his drive-by shooting. His hangaround testified against him. Years later, Elmo appeared on Gangland and proudly displayed a new tattoo he inked in prison. The image covered his whole left side like a flesh mural. He appeared bare-chested for the cameras and flashed his hanging rat. He had tattooed on the animal's belly, "Fuck the ATF," and the rat's forehead, he inked my confidential informant number. I saw Elmo one more time on national television. He played an extra on the popular biker show Sons of Anarchy. I learned that many of the extras in that series were Vagos.